From Acts 21 on, Paul will consistently be imprisoned in some form or fashion. In the trial scenes that come, Paul's accusers will slander him with false accusations that I want to consider as accusations from darkness. You see, the accusations that the people are going to throw at Paul in Jerusalem and also in different cities on his way to Rome are going to be accusations that are not entirely true. And yet, the accusers do recognize that what Paul is saying about the gospel is world-shattering. And yet, when Paul is at his trial scenes, the judges will declare that he is innocent, while simultaneously they'll be confused of what he is being accused of. These moments show a key theme in the book of Acts of light and darkness. That Jesus' kingdom shines light, clarity, and truth, while the kingdom of this world is of darkness and confusion. Beautifully, Paul responds to this darkness that he sees as just another opportunity to share the gospel. It is very clear that Paul does not want to be imprisoned. He would rather be free to go wherever he wants to go and preach the gospel. And yet, even in this moment, whether he's incarcerated or in chains and some form of fashion just imprisoned, he sees it as an opportunity to share the good news of the light of God's kingdom. Paul does this in Jerusalem in two particular ways. First, as he's being accused of letting a Gentile into the inner courts of the temple, the crowd accuses Paul of speaking against the people of Israel, against the law of Moses, and against the temple itself. And though these are false accusations, Paul utilizes this moment as a way to share his testimony of what Jesus did in his life. His defense is not some eloquent academic theology like something you would see in a textbook on apologetics. And yet, it is called a defense, nevertheless. His testimony of God's story in his own life is his defense of what he is doing in Jerusalem and what he's doing around the world. Second, we see that when Paul is before the elders of Jerusalem during this impromptu trial scene, Paul utilizes the theme of the resurrection as a way to explain why he is truly on trial. And although Paul may have been doing this cleverly, this is what he has preached his entire time as a Christian: the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's fascinating because in Paul's defense, he brings up a name that we've heard before, Stephen. Stephen is someone that we have heard of before previously in the book of Acts in chapter 7. He was the one that Paul approved to be stoned. The last thing that Stephen said was that he saw Jesus Christ resurrected, standing at the right hand of God. Maybe in this moment of Paul's trial, he remembers the similar situation that his brother in Christ, now deceased, Stephen, but now he remembers it from this perspective. That time, Paul was the accuser. Now he is the accused. What Paul does in Jerusalem is that he explains the gospel in two ways. He explains the gospel personally by telling his own story and how the gospel has impacted his life and changed his life forever. And he tells the gospel interpersonally. The way that he talks about his own testimony and the way of Jesus is similar to how Stephen's sermon in Acts 7 is. I think this story of Paul in Jerusalem calls us to ask the same question: do we know the gospel well? Knowing the gospel well means knowing it interpersonally and testimonially. And yes, I know testimonially is not a word, but we should know the gospel and think about the gospel in these ways on a regular basis. Do we know how to share the gospel with people through talking about how Jesus has changed our lives? And by being able to look towards examples of people where we can see the gospel changing their lives. Here is something to think about this week. Think through how the gospel has shaped your life. And think of people who have helped you understand the gospel more fully, more clearly.